I never thought I'd be living in the back of a stolen ambulance. But here I am on day 47, parked behind what used to be a Costco off Route 9, watching infected stumble through the parking lot like broken puppets with cut strings. The smell inside here is something I've gotten used to. Antiseptic mixed with my own sweat, the faint copper scent of old blood on the gurney straps I couldn't completely scrub away, and underneath it all, the chemical smell of the portable toilet I rigged up in the corner using a bedpan and some trash bags. It's not pleasant, but it's survival. And survival stopped being pleasant about 6 weeks ago when everything went to absolute hell. My name is Jordan, and I used to install home security systems. The irony isn't lost on me that I spent years teaching people how to keep their houses safe from burglars, and now I'm squatting in a vehicle I technically stole from the Mercy General parking garage, hiding from things that used to be people. Let me back up. It started on a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays were always slow, and I was sitting in my van outside a client's house in the suburbs, filling out paperwork for a system I just installed. The radio was on, some talk show I wasn't really listening to, when the emergency broadcast came through. That tone. You know the one. Usually it's a test, or maybe a weather warning. This time, it just kept going. The voice that followed was steady, but wrong somehow. Too steady. Like someone reading a script they didn't quite believe. This is not a test. Citizens are advised to remain indoors, lock all doors and windows. A medical emergency has been declared. Further instructions will follow. That was it. Then static. I tried calling my sister Diane, but the call wouldn't go through. Tried my ex-wife Kelly. Nothing. The client came out of their house looking at their phone with this confused expression, asking me if I knew what was happening. I didn't. Nobody did yet. By Wednesday afternoon, we knew. I was still at home then, in my apartment on the 4th floor of a building that had seemed so safe. I watched it happen from my window. Mrs. Chen from 2B stumbling into the parking lot, moving wrong, her head tilted at an angle that made my stomach turn. She grabbed Mr. Okonkwo, who was trying to get to his car, and I watched her bite into his shoulder like it was the most natural thing in the world. His screaming brought others. Some ran to help. They shouldn't have. Within an hour, the parking lot was a nightmare. Within 3 hours, I could hear them in the hallways of my building, pounding on doors. I shoved my couch against my apartment door and sat on my kitchen floor, listening to Mrs. Patterson from across the hall, screaming for help that never came. The screaming stopped around midnight. The sounds that replaced it were worse. I stayed in that apartment for 4 days, rationing the food in my fridge, drinking water from the tap until the water stopped running. No power by day 3. My phone died. The radio gave me nothing but static and occasional bursts of automated warnings. On day 4, I heard them break through Mrs. Patterson's door. Heard them shuffling around her apartment. My door wouldn't hold much longer. That's when I made the decision that saved my life, though I didn't feel like it at the time. I climbed out my window onto the fire escape in the middle of the night, carrying nothing but a backpack with some canned food, a flashlight, a knife from my kitchen, and the clothes on my back. I left everything else. Photos of my kid from my marriage, my dad's watch, my whole life. The fire escape led down to an alley. I could hear them everywhere, but the alley was empty in that moment. Just that moment. I ran. I didn't have a plan beyond away. I cut through backyards, climbed fences, hid in a tool shed when I heard them close. Kept moving when I could. The city was burning in places. Cars were abandoned in the streets, some with drivers still inside them, some of those drivers still moving even though they shouldn't be. The smell was already starting, that sweet rot smell that I now associate with summer and death. By sunrise, I was 12 blocks from my apartment, exhausted and cornered in a CVS pharmacy that had already been ransacked. I'd made the mistake of trying to find supplies, and a group of them had followed the sound of my footsteps. I barricaded myself in the employee bathroom, listening to them pound on the door, wondering if this was how it ended. That's when I heard the engine. A vehicle, moving fast, gunshots, shouting. The pounding on my door stopped. I waited 20 minutes before I cracked the bathroom door open, knife shaking in my hand. The CVS was empty. Through the shattered front windows, I could see bodies in the street, actually dead this time, bullet holes in their heads. And parked at an angle in the middle of the intersection was an ambulance, engine still running, driver's door hanging open. I should have been more careful. I should have checked. But I was desperate and stupid with fear, and all I could think was that an ambulance meant safety, meant medical supplies, meant wheels and movement and a way out of this city. I ran for it. The driver was nowhere to be seen. The passenger seat was empty. The back doors were closed. I climbed into the driver's seat, hands fumbling with controls I didn't understand. The keys were in the ignition. The gas tank showed 3/4 full. In the back, I could see through the small window, was every kind of medical supply I could imagine. I didn't think. I just drove. Looking back, I think the crew probably abandoned it when they got overrun. Or maybe they went into a building to help someone and never came back out. I'll never know. But that ambulance became my salvation and my prison all at once. The first week was about distance. I drove out of the city, taking back roads when the highways became parking lots of abandoned cars. I learned quickly that the infected were attracted to sound. The siren was absolutely out of the question, and even the engine noise would draw them if I stayed in one place too long. I learned to drive at night when I could, lights off, navigating by moonlight and memory. I slept in the back during the day, pulled off on rural roads or hidden behind buildings. The medical supplies were incredible. Bandages, antibiotics, pain medication, IV bags, splints, surgical tools. There was even a defibrillator, though I had no idea how to use it. The gurney became my bed. The cabinets became my fortress. But the supplies that really mattered were the things I found tucked away in the crew compartment. A road atlas, a box of granola bars, 3 bottles of water, a portable radio that worked, a first aid manual, someone's lunch in a small cooler, a sandwich I ate carefully over 2 days, savoring every bite. Food became the immediate problem. By day 10, I'd eaten everything edible that was in the ambulance. I'd been avoiding towns, avoiding anywhere I might run into large groups of infected, but hunger makes you brave or stupid. Probably both. I started scouting. Gas stations became my primary targets. Small ones off the highway, the kind with just 2 pumps and a convenience store attached. I developed a system. Park the ambulance a 1/4 mile away, out of sight. Approach on foot, moving slow, watching for any sign of movement. Listen before I look. Look before I move. Never go in if I hear something inside. Never go in if the door is already open. The first place I hit was a Shell station outside a town called Millbrook. The door was locked, but the big window was already broken. I climbed through, boots crunching on glass, every muscle tight. The shelves had been picked over but not emptied. People in panic grabbed the obvious stuff: bread, water, cigarettes. They don't think about the beef jerky hanging on the rack by the register. They don't look behind the counter where the energy drinks are stocked. They don't check the storage room. I learned to check the storage room. That first haul got me 6 bags of chips, a box of beef jerky, a dozen energy drinks, 4 cans of soup, and, bizarrely, a case of baby food that had been left in the corner. I took it all. I'm not proud of how fast I moved, how my hands shook, how I nearly dropped everything when I heard a crash from somewhere in the back. I didn't investigate. I just ran. Back at the ambulance, I cataloged everything like treasure, the baby food especially. Each little jar was calories, was life, and they didn't need to be cooked. I rationed them carefully, 1 jar per day, mixed with whatever else I had. It tasted like bland vegetables and kept me alive. That became the pattern. Every few days, I'd scout a new location. Gas stations, convenience stores, the occasional house that looked abandoned enough to risk. I got better at it. Learned to recognize the signs of infected nearby, the smell, the sounds, the way birds would go silent in an area where they were present. learned to move quietly, to check corners, to always have an escape route. The ambulance itself became my mobile fortress. I reinforced the back doors with a metal bar I found in a hardware store, wedging it through the handles. I covered the windows with cardboard and duct tape, leaving just small viewing slits I could peek through. The tinted windows in front helped, but I still draped a blanket between the cab and the back compartment when I was sleeping, just in case something looked in and saw me. The medical supplies saved me more than once. On day 18, I slipped while climbing a fence and gashed my leg open on the chain link, deep enough that I could see fat tissue, bright yellow against red. I made it back to the ambulance, bleeding through my jeans, vision going sparkly at the edges. In any other circumstance, that wound would have gotten infected, would have killed me slowly. Instead, I had everything I needed: betadine to clean it, lidocaine to numb it, surgical sutures, and a curved needle. I'd never stitched anything before in my life, but I had the medical manual, I had decent light from my flashlight, and I had no choice. It took me 2 hours, sweating and shaking, to close that wound. 14 stitches, crooked and ugly, but they held. I wrapped it in sterile gauze, took some antibiotics from the cabinet, and prayed I'd done enough. The wound healed. Badly, with a scar like a lightning bolt running up my calf. But it healed. I think that was the moment I really understood what I had. This ambulance wasn't just transportation. It was a mobile hospital, a supply depot, a shelter, and a weapon all in one. The weight of it, literally tons of metal and equipment, meant I could ram through chain link fences if I needed to. The height gave me visibility. The official markings made it less suspicious from a distance, though that mattered less and less as the days went on and fewer living people remained to see it. Water was the other constant problem. I found a 5-gallon container in a camping store and started filling it whenever I found a source. Garden hoses connected to houses sometimes still had pressure in the lines. Streams and ponds were risky. I had to boil the water, which meant fire, which meant smoke and attention. I collected rain when I could, setting out containers on the roof of the ambulance at night, pulling them in before dawn. I learned to survive on less than a gallon a day, drinking, cooking the few things that needed it, cleaning wounds, no showers, no washing clothes properly. I started to smell like the inside of the ambulance. Or maybe the ambulance started to smell like me. Hard to tell. The radio became my companion. I found batteries in a hardware store and kept it running, scanning through channels, listening to static mostly. Sometimes I'd catch fragments of broadcasts, emergency warnings that played on a loop, their relevance fading as the days passed. Once, I heard a voice, actual human voice, not a recording, saying something about a safe zone in Pennsylvania. By the time I got the map out to check where I was, the broadcast was gone. I tried for hours to find it again. Never did. I wondered a lot in those early weeks if I was doing the right thing, if I should have stayed in my apartment, if I should have tried to find other survivors, if there was somewhere safe I should be heading toward instead of just wandering these back roads, scavenging like a rat. But every time I thought about stopping, about trying to settle somewhere, I'd remember the sounds from my apartment building, the screaming, the wet tearing noises, the silence after, and I'd keep driving. The infected were everywhere, but they were denser in some places than others. Towns were death traps. I learned that the hard way in a place called Riverside when I got cocky and drove right down Main Street in the middle of the afternoon, thinking the place looked dead enough to risk. It wasn't. They came out of buildings, out of cars, out of the spaces between structures, dozens of them. The sound of the engine was like a dinner bell. I had to gun it, slamming into 2 of them that got in front of the ambulance, their bodies making sounds I still hear when I close my eyes. Thump. Crunch. The windshield cracked where one of them hit it face first, leaving a smear of black blood, and something worse. I drove for 20 miles before I felt safe enough to stop, heart hammering so hard I thought I might throw up. That's when I made my rule: avoid towns during the day. If I absolutely had to go into one, I'd do it at dusk or dawn, when visibility was lower but not impossible, and I'd park at the very edge, ready to run. The days started to blur together. Day 20-something, day 30-something. I marked time by supplies before the beef jerky ran out. After I found the peanut butter, during the week of nothing but crackers and energy drinks. I kept a journal for a while, using the back of patient intake forms I found in the ambulance, but I gave it up. What was the point? Each day was the same survival loop. Wake up, check the perimeter, eat as little as possible, scout if I needed supplies, move if I felt unsafe, sleep when I could. The loneliness was the worst part. I'd never been someone who needed constant company. My ex-wife used to complain that I could go days without really talking to her, just nodding and making sounds of agreement. But this was different. This was weeks without hearing another human voice except my own. I started talking to myself just to break the silence, narrating what I was doing. Okay, Jordan, going to check that house on the left. Looks quiet. Windows intact, good sign. Sometimes I'd have whole conversations with people who weren't there. I'd argue with my sister about whether I should try to make it to her house upstate, even though I had no idea if she was alive. I'd tell my daughter, she'd be 9 now, living with Kelly in Ohio, about what I was seeing, like I was on some twisted road trip. You wouldn't believe the sunset tonight, kiddo. Everything's on fire, but the sky is beautiful. I knew I was losing it a little. Didn't seem worth worrying about. Day 36, I found another survivor. I was parked behind an abandoned farm equipment dealership, sorting through my supplies, when I heard the sound. Not the groaning, shuffling sound of the infected, but footsteps, deliberate, careful, human. I grabbed the tire iron I kept by the gurney and crouched low. Watching through one of my viewing slits, a man emerged from behind a rusted combine harvester, mid-40s maybe, lean, bearded. He was carrying a rifle and moving like someone who knew what they were doing. He spotted the ambulance, froze, raised the rifle. I made a decision. I opened the back door just a crack. "I'm alive," I said. My voice sounded strange after so long in silence, rough and unused. Human, not infected. He didn't lower the rifle. "Prove it." "How?" "They don't talk much. Say something only a person would say." I thought for a second. This situation is completely fucked, and I miss coffee more than I miss most of my family. He lowered the rifle, not all the way, but enough. "You alone in there?" "Yeah." "You got supplies?" "Some." "You willing to share?" I hesitated. Every granola bar, every can of soup was precious. But this was a person, an actual living person. And I was so tired of being alone. "Maybe," I said. "You got information? Know anywhere safe?" He laughed, but there wasn't any humor in it. "If I knew somewhere safe, you think I'd be sneaking around a John Deere dealership?" Fair point. His name was Vincent. He'd been a park ranger before everything collapsed, working at a state park about 40 miles north. When the infection hit, he'd locked himself in a ranger station for a week, living on vending machine snacks and water from the cooler. When he'd ventured out, his station was overrun, his truck was destroyed, and he'd been on foot ever since. We traded supplies. I gave him a can of soup and some water. He gave me a lighter, actual lighter, not matches, and a roll of paracord he'd scavenged from a camping store. We talked for maybe 20 minutes, standing outside the ambulance, both of us keeping some distance, both of us ready to run. He told me he'd heard rumors of a military evacuation zone being set up to the west, near the Mississippi River, said he was heading that way. Asked if I wanted to travel together. I almost said yes. God, I almost said yes. The idea of having someone to talk to, someone to watch my back, someone to share the crushing weight of survival with. It was so tempting. But then I looked at him. Really looked. His eyes were a little too wide. His hands shook even when they weren't doing anything. He kept glancing around like he expected something to jump out at any second. He was on the edge, and people on the edge make mistakes, make noise, draw attention, get you killed. "I work better alone," I said. He nodded like he'd expected that answer. "Watch yourself out here." "You too." He disappeared into the fading daylight, heading west. I never saw him again. Sometimes I wonder if he made it to that evacuation zone. Probably not. But maybe. That night I lay on the gurney and thought about how much easier it would be with two people, one to drive, one to keep watch, one to scout while the other guarded the vehicle. The practical benefits were obvious, but I remembered Kelly, back before the divorce, telling me I had trust issues. "You never let anyone in," she'd said. "You think if you rely on someone, they'll let you down, so you just don't rely on anyone at all." She'd been right then. She was still right now. And in this new world, maybe that was an advantage. I started moving farther from the city after that. The routes I'd been taking were getting too familiar. The good scavenging spots were already picked clean, and I'd seen signs of other survivors, discarded packaging, recent campfire remains. More people meant more competition for resources, meant more chances for conflict. The ambulance guzzled gas. That was always the problem. 8, maybe 9 miles per gallon. And I couldn't exactly pull into a working gas station and fill up. I'd found a siphon hose early on, and I got good at finding abandoned cars with enough fuel in their tanks to make the effort worthwhile. Stand on the side of the road, pop the gas cap, feed the hose in, suck on the end until the fuel starts flowing, and try not to get a mouthful of gasoline. Failed at that last part more than once. The taste stays with you for hours. Each car might give me a gallon, maybe 3 if I was lucky. I needed to siphon 4 or 5 cars to fill the ambulance's tank. It was time-consuming and exposed me in the open, but necessary. I marked good spots on my atlas, stretches of highway with clusters of abandoned vehicles, parking lots that hadn't been picked over. Created a mental map of fuel sources. By day 40, I developed a routine that kept me alive. Wake up before dawn, check the perimeter through the viewing slits, listening for any sounds that didn't belong. Inventory my supplies, food, water, fuel, medical. Eat something small, usually a handful of crackers or half a can of something. Decide whether to move or stay. If moving, plan the route. If staying, scout for supplies. Never stay in the same spot for more than 2 days. Never scout in the same area where I'm sleeping. Never make noise unless absolutely necessary. Never leave the ambulance unlocked, even to walk 10 feet. Never trust that anywhere is safe. These rules kept me breathing. The ambulance had its issues, of course. The check engine light came on around day 32. I had no idea what it meant and no way to fix it, so I just ignored it and prayed the vehicle kept running. One of the back tires picked up a slow leak from some road debris, and I had to figure out how to use the spare, a process that involved a lot of swearing and a YouTube video I'd watched once and barely remembered. The battery started to die because I'd been using the radio too much, so I found a solar charger in a sporting goods store and rigged it up on the roof. I became a mechanic out of necessity, an electrician, a plumber dealing with my makeshift toilet situation, a doctor treating the small injuries that accumulated, cuts, bruises, a burn from a cooking mishap, a chef learning to make edible meals from whatever random cans and packages I scrounged. The infection itself seemed to follow certain patterns, though I was still figuring them out. The infected were attracted to sound and movement, but their vision seemed poor, especially at night. They could run, shambling, jerky running, but faster than a walk. They couldn't climb very well. I'd seen them struggle with chain-link fences, their coordination too shot to manage it. They didn't seem to feel pain. I'd watched one drag itself along on a broken leg, bones sticking through the skin, not even slowing down. The bites were always fatal. I'd seen it happen 3 times now from a distance. Person gets bitten, seems okay for a few hours, then the fever starts. Within 12 to 24 hours, they're one of them. I didn't know if it was a virus, bacteria, or something else entirely. Didn't matter. The outcome was always the same. Headshots stopped them. That was the other thing I'd learned. You could shoot them in the chest all day and they'd keep coming, but destroy the brain and they'd drop like a puppet with cut strings. I didn't have a gun, had never fired one in my life, but I'd found a crowbar in a maintenance shed. and I'd gotten pretty good at using it. Aim for the temple or the back of the skull where the bone is thinner. Put your weight behind it. Don't hesitate. Don't think about the fact that this used to be a person. I'd killed 6 of them by day 40. Not because I wanted to, but because I'd had to. 3 when they'd cornered me in a grocery store basement. 1 that got too close while I was siphoning gas. 2 that were blocking the only road out when I'd miscalculated my route. Each time, it got a little easier. Each time, I felt a little less human. That bothered me more than I wanted to admit. The small victories kept me going. Finding a cache of canned goods in a basement pantry, stumbling across a pharmacy that still had its stockroom intact. Bottles and bottles of antibiotics, painkillers, even some insulin that I carefully stored in the ambulance's mini fridge, figuring it might save someone's life someday. Maybe mine. Discovering a hand-crank radio that meant I didn't need to worry about batteries anymore. Day 43 brought a massive rainstorm. I parked under an overpass and watched the water sheet down, turning the world gray and blurry. The infected wandered through it, unbothered by the downpour, their clothes plastered to their bodies. I set out every container I had, collecting rainwater, filling gallon jugs and bottles. By the time it ended, I had enough water to last me 2 weeks if I was careful. That night, clean water in my bottles and the sound of rain drumming on the ambulance roof, I felt something close to contentment. It didn't last. It never did. But for a few hours I wasn't terrified, just tired and wet and alive. The atlas became my Bible. I'd trace routes with my finger, planning paths that avoided major cities, marking areas I'd scavenged, noting places that seemed too dangerous to risk. I was somewhere in southern Massachusetts now, I thought. Though the road signs had become unreliable and my navigation skills weren't great. Heading vaguely west seemed smart. More rural areas, more farmland, fewer people before the collapse, which meant fewer infected now. I thought a lot about where I was going, if I had a destination. Part of me wanted to try to make it to my sister's place, but that was 4 states away, and I had no idea if she was even alive. Part of me thought about Kelly and my daughter, but Ohio was even farther, and trying to cross that much distance felt impossible. Part of me wondered if there really was an evacuation zone somewhere, a place with walls and soldiers and electricity and normal life. Mostly, though, I just tried to make it to the next day. Day 47. That's today. I'm parked behind this Costco, watching the sun set through my narrow viewing slit, eating cold beans straight from the can with a plastic spoon I've washed 100 times. The beans taste like aluminum and salt. I barely notice anymore. My supplies are decent right now. Food for about 10 days if I ration carefully. Water for a week. Gas tank is half full. Medical supplies are still extensive, though I've used a fair bit of the gauze and antiseptic. The ambulance is running rough but running. I'm healthy, aside from the scar on my leg and the persistent ache in my lower back from sleeping on the gurney. Tomorrow, I'll scout the Costco. It's been picked over. I can see through the broken windows that the front section is trashed, but the building is huge. There might be something in the back in the storage area. Or maybe I'll bypass it entirely, keep moving, find somewhere smaller and safer to scavenge. That's the thing about survival. You make plans, but you stay flexible. The moment you get rigid, the moment you convince yourself you have to check that building, or you have to go down that road, that's when you die. I've been thinking lately about what Vincent said, about the evacuation zone, about the possibility that somewhere someone is rebuilding, creating safety. And I've been thinking about the radio broadcasts I've caught, the fragments of information that suggest maybe, just maybe, there are pockets of civilization left. But I've also been thinking about how good I've gotten at this, at surviving alone, at moving through this broken world like a ghost. The ambulance and I, we're a team. We understand each other. It keeps me alive, and I keep it running. Is that enough? Is survival without purpose just prolonged dying? I don't have an answer to that yet. The sun's almost down. I can see the infected more clearly now, silhouettes against the orange sky. There are maybe 15 in the parking lot that I can see. Not enough to be a real threat if I need to leave quickly, but enough that I'll be careful. Always careful. I finish the beans, rinse the can with a tiny amount of water, add it to my recycling pile. Might be able to use it for something later. Storage, a noise trap, who knows? I've learned not to throw anything away. The thing about living in an ambulance is that every sound is amplified. I can hear my own breathing, the small creaks as the vehicle settles, rain hitting the roof, the distant groan of infected. Sometimes, I imagine I can hear the world ending, like a low-frequency hum just under everything else. Tonight's quiet, though, relatively. I've got my viewing slits covered with the blanket, the doors barred, the windows secured. I'm as safe as I get. I pull out the medical manual and read by flashlight, same as I do most nights. I've gone through it cover to cover 3 times now, memorizing procedures I hope I'll never need to use. How to treat a sucking chest wound, how to deliver a baby, how to amputate a limb if gangrene sets in. The fact that I might need to know these things is horrifying. The fact that I'm learning them is practical. Around midnight, I hear a sound that makes me freeze, not the infected. Something else. An engine. I click off my flashlight immediately, plunging myself into darkness, move carefully to the front of the ambulance. Peer through a tiny gap in the blanket covering the windshield. My eyes adjust slowly. There. Headlights, moving slowly down the street that runs past the Costco. A truck, looks like. Big one, maybe a pickup or an SUV. It's crawling along like whoever's driving is searching for something. The infected in the parking lot turn toward the sound, starting to shuffle in that direction. The truck doesn't speed up, doesn't slow down, just maintains that steady pace. I hold my breath. If they spot the ambulance, if they decide to check it out, I'm in trouble. I can't outrun them if they're in a vehicle, can't fight them if there are multiple people. My hand finds the crowbar by muscle memory. The truck passes the Costco entrance, keeps going. The taillights fade into the distance. I exhale slowly. That's the first vehicle I've seen moving in over a week. Someone else is out here, surviving, scavenging, maybe running like me, maybe hunting. I don't go back to sleep for hours. Day 48 starts with a decision. The Costco is too risky now. If whoever was in that truck is working this area, I don't want to run into them. Better to move on, find somewhere less picked over. I start the ambulance, wince at the noise of the engine. The infected in the parking lot turn toward me immediately. I count them. 19 now. 3 more must have wandered in overnight. Still manageable. I throw the ambulance into drive and pull out slowly, watching them stumble after me. They're not fast enough to catch me once I'm moving, but I keep my speed down, conserving fuel. Route 9 is a mess of abandoned cars, but I've driven it enough to know the path through. I weave between vehicles, some with their doors hanging open, some with dark shapes slumped in the driver's seats that I try not to look at too closely. The morning light is gray and weak, clouds hanging low. About 5 miles down the road, I spot something that makes me slow down. A minivan pulled off to the side that wasn't here 2 days ago when I came through. Recent. The windows are intact, no visible damage. Could be the people from the truck, could be someone else, could be a trap. I drive past it, watching in my mirrors. Nothing moves. I go another 1/4 mile, then pull off into a maintenance road that's mostly hidden by overgrown bushes. Kill the engine? Wait. 15 minutes pass. No movement from the minivan, no sounds except wind and distant bird calls. My stomach growls. I'm down to my last granola bar, and I ate half of it yesterday. I need to scavenge, and soon. But that minivan bothers me. I grab my crowbar and my backpack, check that my knife is secure in my belt. Lock the ambulance. Habit, even though anyone who really wanted in could break a window. Move through the brush, keeping low, approaching the minivan from behind. It's definitely new to this spot. The tires are properly inflated. The exterior is clean except for road dust. I circle it carefully, watching the windows. The back seats are folded down. There are boxes inside. Supplies. My heart rate picks up. Supplies mean food, water, maybe fuel. But taking from another survivor is different from scavenging abandoned stores. There are ethics here, even in the apocalypse, right? I check the front seats, empty. Check the doors, unlocked. That's wrong. Nobody leaves their supplies unlocked. Nobody. I back away from the minivan, suddenly very aware that this feels like bait. Like someone wants me to open those doors, to lean inside, to be vulnerable. A sound behind me, a footstep. I spin, crowbar raised. There's a woman standing about 10 feet away, and she's pointing a shotgun directly at my chest. "Drop it," she says. Her voice is steady. She's maybe 30, dark hair pulled back, wearing what looks like hiking gear. Her finger is on the trigger. I drop the crowbar, hold my hands up. "I'm not trying to take anything." "Then why are you at my vehicle?" "I saw it. Wanted to make sure it wasn't, I don't know, a problem." "And if it was? What were you going to do?" "Good question." "Avoid it." She studies me for a long moment. I can see her evaluating. Threat or no threat? Worth a bullet or not? I try to look as non-threatening as possible, which is hard when you're wearing 3-week-old clothes and haven't showered in over a month. "You alone?" she asks. "Yeah." "Prove it." "How?" "You got a vehicle? Where is it?" I hesitate. Telling her about the ambulance means giving away my biggest advantage, but lying means she might shoot me just to be safe. "Quarter-mile back, ambulance. I've been living in it." Her eyes narrow. "The ambulance parked behind the Costco yesterday?" "Shit. She saw me." "Yeah. You were watching me last night. Your truck woke me up. I didn't know who you were." "And now?" "Still don't." She almost smiles at that. Almost. The shotgun doesn't waver. "My name is Riley. I've been tracking this area for 3 days. That Costco has a supply room in the back that most people don't know about. Climate controlled. I've been waiting for the infected to disperse so I could get in there safely. And then I showed up and complicated things." "Yes." We stare at each other. I can see she's thin under the hiking gear, the same kind of lean hunger that I'm carrying. Survivors both, competing for the same resources. "I was going to move on," I say. "The Costco's yours. Where's your ambulance parked now?" I don't answer. That information gets me killed. Riley nods like she expected that. "Smart. Okay, here's what's going to happen. You're going to walk back to your ambulance. I'm going to watch you go. You're not going to come back to this area. We clear?" "Crystal, good. Because if I see that ambulance again, I'm going to assume you're following me and I'm going to shoot first and skip the questions." "Understood." She gestures with the shotgun. "Go." I pick up my crowbar slowly, keeping my movements obvious and non-threatening. "Back away!" She follows me with the barrel of the gun, tracking my movement. When I'm about 20 feet away, I turn and walk, feeling the space between my shoulder blades tingle where I imagine the shotgun is still pointed. I don't run. Running looks like guilt or fear, and both might get me shot. I just walk, steady and calm, until I'm back in the brush and out of sight. Then I run. Back at the ambulance, I'm shaking. That was closer than I like. If Riley had been more paranoid or more trigger-happy, I'd be dead in the dirt by a minivan. All because I was curious about supplies that weren't mine. Lesson learned. Again. I start the engine and drive, put distance between myself and Riley and that Costco and the whole situation. Head west on smaller roads, consulting the atlas, looking for the next town that might have something worth scavenging. By mid-afternoon, I'm in a place called Thornfield. Population 3,400, according to the welcome sign that's leaning at a 45-degree angle. Small enough that it might not be completely picked over. Big enough that there should be a grocery store or two. I park the ambulance in the lot of a Methodist church on the edge of town. The building looks intact, which probably means infected inside, so I give it a wide berth. From here, I can see the main street. It's the usual devastation, broken windows, abandoned cars, trash everywhere. But I don't see movement. don't hear anything. I wait 30 minutes just watching. That's another rule. Never rush into a new area. Observe first. Finally, I grab my backpack and crowbar and move out on foot. There's a small grocery store 3 blocks in. Family Market, the sign says. The front windows are smashed, but that's true of everywhere. I approach from the side, checking the alley first. Clear. The back door is locked, but the frame is rotted enough that I can pry it open with the crowbar after a few minutes of work. Inside, it's dark. My flashlight cuts through the gloom, illuminating overturned shelves and scattered products. Someone's been here before, but not recently. There's dust on everything. I move carefully, checking each aisle. Most of the obvious stuff is gone. Bread aisle is empty. Canned goods are mostly taken, but I've learned to check the weird spots. The ethnic food section has 2 jars of curry paste and a bag of rice. The baking aisle has a box of cornmeal and some yeast packets. Behind the deli counter, in a mini fridge that's now room temperature, there are sealed packages of cheese and lunch meat that are definitely spoiled, but underneath them are 2 jars of pickles that are still sealed and shelf-stable. I load it all into my backpack. It's not much, but it's something. The pharmacy section is locked behind a metal gate. I try to pull it up, but it's secured with a padlock. This is the good stuff. Medications, first aid, maybe vitamins. I need to get in there. I remember the bolt cutters I saw in a hardware store 2 towns back. Didn't take them because they were heavy and I couldn't see a use for them at the time. Kicking myself now, I'm examining the lock, wondering if I can break it with the crowbar when I hear the sound. A groan, low and wet. Coming from deeper in the store, I freeze, flashlight off, standing perfectly still in the darkness. Another groan, shuffling footsteps, something moving in the back storage area. One infected I can handle. More than one I need to leave. I wait, listening, trying to count the sounds, trying to determine if it's one or many. A shape emerges from the storage room door. I can see it in the dim light coming through the broken front windows. Definitely infected, moving with that characteristic jerky gait. It hasn't seen me yet. I could leave, should leave. But that pharmacy section. The infected moves toward the front of the store, attracted maybe by the light from outside. I'm in shadow by the pharmacy gate. If I stay still, it might pass me by. It gets closer. I can smell it now. That rot smell that I've learned to associate with them. It's wearing what used to be a grocery store uniform. Name tag still pinned to its shirt, though I can't read it in the low light. 10 feet away, 5 feet, I'm barely breathing. It walks right past me, doesn't even look in my direction. Continues toward the front, drawn by something I can't see or hear. I give it 30 seconds, then I move, quickly and quietly, back toward the rear door I came in through. The pharmacy will have to wait. I'm not dying for antibiotics I don't currently need. Outside, the afternoon sun feels shocking after the darkness of the store. I make it back to the ambulance without incident, load my meager haul into the back. Rice, cornmeal, curry paste, pickles, yeast. Weird combination. But calories are calories. I'm about to pull out when I see them. 3 people walking down the main street. Alive, human, moving purposefully, carrying what look like weapons. I duck low in the driver's seat, watching through the gap in my blanket. They're checking buildings, moving as a unit. 2 men and a woman. They look organized, experienced. They're heading toward the family market. Part of me wants to warn them about the infected inside. Part of me wants to just leave and not get involved. I'm still debating when the decision is made for me. They spot the ambulance. One of them points. They change direction, heading toward the church parking lot. Toward me. I start the engine. Their walk turns into a jog. I throw the ambulance into reverse, pulling out of the parking spot. They're running now, shouting something I can't hear over the engine. One of them has their weapon raised. Looks like a rifle. I don't wait to see if they're friendly. I floor it, the ambulance lurching forward, tires squealing. A gunshot cracks behind me. I can't tell if they're shooting at me or trying to get my attention, and I'm not stopping to find out. I take a turn too fast, the ambulance tilting, medical equipment sliding around in the back. Another turn. I'm on a residential street now, houses on both sides, some with doors hanging open like screaming mouths. I check the mirror. No one following. I slow down, trying to calm my racing heart. That's 2 encounters with other survivors in 2 days, both of them potentially hostile. This area is too crowded, too dangerous. I need to get farther out, find somewhere more rural. Fewer people before means fewer infected now, fewer survivors competing for resources. I drive for an hour, winding through back roads, putting distance between me and Thornfield. The sun is getting low when I find a spot that looks decent. A state forest access road, blocked by a fallen tree. I park the ambulance on the road before the tree, effectively creating a dead end behind me. No one can come up behind me without moving that tree first, and that would make enough noise to wake me. I do my evening routine, inventory supplies. Water is getting low again, need to find a source tomorrow. Food is better after today's scavenging, but not by much. Fuel is at a quarter tank. That's concerning. I'll need to siphon soon. I eat a small meal, pickles and some crackers I've been rationing. The pickles are vinegary and sharp, almost painful after weeks of bland food. I savor every bite. As darkness falls, I can hear the forest around me. Animal sounds, which is weirdly comforting. Where there are animals, there tend to be fewer infected. They seem to scare off the wildlife, or maybe the wildlife just avoids anywhere that smells like death. I try the radio, scanning through channels. Static, static, static. Then, calling any survivors. This is Redoubt Station. If you can hear this, we are located at the following coordinates. I scramble for a pen, trying to write on the margin of my atlas. The signal is weak, cutting in and out. 42.79, static. Negative 73.1, more static. Repeat. We are a secure facility with... and it's gone. I try to find it again, spinning the dial carefully, but it's not there. Just static. Redoubt Station. Coordinates that started with 42, which would put them somewhere in the northern states. New York maybe, Massachusetts, Vermont. I plot rough coordinates on my atlas, trying to remember the numbers. 42.79, negative 73.1. That's somewhere in upstate New York, I think. 2, maybe 300 miles from where I am now. A secure facility. That's what the voice said. I stare at the atlas for a long time, my flashlight making a small circle of light in the darkness. 300 miles. Through infected territory, through towns and cities, across rivers and highways, in an ambulance that's starting to show its age, with fuel running low and supplies finite. It could be a trap, could be overrun by the time I get there. Could be that I heard the coordinates wrong and I'd end up in the middle of nowhere. But it's something, a destination, a purpose beyond just survive another day. I don't decide right away. That's not smart. I need to think about this. Plan. Consider the risks. But for the first time in 48 days, I feel something like hope, and that terrifies me more than the infected ever could. Sleep doesn't come easy. I keep thinking about Redoubt Station, about the possibility of walls and safety and other people who aren't pointing guns at me, about hot meals and clean water and maybe, just maybe, a return to something resembling normal life. But I also think about Riley's shotgun, about the people in Thornfield who shot at me, about Vincent with his shaking hands and desperate eyes, heading toward a rumor that might not exist. How many people have died chasing rumors of safety? Day 49. I wake to rain again, lighter this time. I use it to top off my water containers, setting them out on the ambulance roof. While I wait for them to fill, I do maintenance on the vehicle. Check the oil, low, and I don't have any to add. Check the tires, the slow leak is getting worse. Check the battery connections, corroded, but still working. The ambulance is dying slowly. Might last another month, might last another week. Hard to say. I spend the morning planning a route north. If I'm going to do this, and I haven't decided, not really, but if I am, then I need to be smart about it. The most direct route would take me through Springfield, which is a death sentence. Too many people, too many infected. Better to go around. Take smaller highways. Route 2 maybe, or Route 20. Stay rural. Find small towns to scavenge. Take it slow. 300 miles. If I could drive straight through, that's maybe 5 hours. But I can't. I'll need to stop for fuel, for supplies, to avoid infected hordes. Realistically, it could take me 2 weeks, maybe more. And every day I'm on the road is a day I'm vulnerable, a day I'm burning through supplies, a day something could go wrong. By noon, the rain has stopped. I pull back onto the access road and head north, following Route 2. The decision sort of makes itself. Stay here and slowly run out of supplies, or head towards something that might be real. When you put it that way, there's only one choice. The first day is uneventful. I pass through 2 small towns, both too risky to stop at. See infected in the distance, shambling through intersections. Pass abandoned cars, some with their trunks open, long since looted. The landscape is beautiful in a desolate way. Fall colors starting to show, trees going red and gold, fields overgrown with weeds. I make it 50 miles before I need to stop for fuel. There's a truck stop off the highway, the kind with a restaurant attached. The pumps are dead, of course, no electricity to run them. But there are trucks in the lot, and trucks mean diesel, which won't help me. But there are also a few cars. I approach carefully, watching for movement. The restaurant windows are dark. The convenience store section looks ransacked. I don't see infected, but that doesn't mean they're not there. I pick a sedan that looks promising, pop the gas cap, feed my siphon hose in. Suck on the end until I taste gasoline. God, I hate that taste. And let it flow into my jerry can. The can holds 5 gallons. I get about 3 from this car before the tank runs dry. 2 more cars later, I've got a full jerry can and a half tank in the ambulance. Good enough for another 100 miles, maybe. As I'm loading the jerry can back into the ambulance, I hear an engine. Not close, but getting closer. I freeze, listening. It's coming from the north, from the direction I'm heading. A motorcycle. Single headlight cutting through the fading daylight. I close the ambulance doors quietly and climb into the cab. Start the engine, but don't turn on the headlights. Wait. The motorcycle comes into view. One rider, moving fast, weaving between abandoned cars. They're wearing a helmet and a backpack, hunched over the handlebars. They don't slow down as they pass the truck stop. Don't even look in my direction. Just gone. Heading south, the sound of the engine fading. Someone running from something maybe, or running toward something, or just running, same as me. I give it 10 minutes, then pull back onto the road heading north. That night, I camp in a rest area. There's a welcome center building that I don't even consider entering, but there are picnic areas and a parking lot. I back the ambulance into a spot where I can see the entrance road, kill the engine, and settle in. Dinner is rice cooked with a little bit of curry paste and some water. I use a camping stove I found in a sporting goods store, heating the mixture in a small pot. It's not good, but it's hot and filling, and after weeks of cold canned food, it feels like a luxury. I think about the motorcycle rider, about Riley with her shotgun, about Vincent heading west, about the people in Thornfield, all of us scattering across the landscape like seeds, trying to find somewhere we can take root and survive. How many of us are left in the whole country? Thousands? Hundreds? Before I sleep, I try the radio again. Scanning, scanning, scanning. Nothing but static. No more Redoubt Station broadcasts. I have to trust that I got the coordinates right, that they're still there, that this isn't all a massive mistake. Day 50. I've been in this ambulance for 50 days, 7 weeks plus a day. That seems impossible and also like forever. I cross into New York State in the afternoon. There's no one at the border to check my documents or ask my purpose. Just a sign that's been spray painted with something I can't quite make out. The roads here are worse. More potholes, more debris. I have to slow down, which burns fuel, which makes me anxious. I pass through a town called Hoosick Falls and decide to risk a quick scavenging run. There's a pharmacy on Main Street that looks intact. I park 2 blocks away and approach on foot. The front door is locked, but the glass is broken. I climb through carefully, watching for infected. The store is dark and silent. My flashlight beam shows picked over shelves, but not completely empty. I head straight for the pharmacy section. It's locked, like they all are. But the gate is just a metal accordion-style barrier, and I can see through it. Shelves full of medication bottles, first aid supplies, everything I need. I wedge my crowbar into the gate and pull. The metal groans but doesn't give. I pull harder. Something snaps, a lock mechanism, and the gate slides open a few inches. Enough. I squeeze through and start loading my backpack. Antibiotics, pain medication, antihistamines, vitamins, bandages, gauze, alcohol wipes. I take anything that might be useful, anything that's shelf-stable. My backpack gets heavier and heavier. That's when I hear the sound. Multiple sounds. Groaning, shuffling, coming from the back of the store. I've been too focused on the medications. Haven't been paying attention. Stupid. I squeeze back through the gate opening, but my backpack catches. I'm stuck, half in and half out, and the sounds are getting closer. I yank hard, feel the backpack tear, but I'm through. I can see them now. 4 infected, emerging from the back storage area. They've spotted me. They're coming faster. I run for the front window where I climbed in. The infected are between me and the front door, so that's not an option. I scramble through the broken window, feel glass cut my hand, don't stop moving. Outside, the infected are following, climbing through the window with their jerky, uncoordinated movements. I run for the ambulance, can hear them behind me. 2 blocks feels like 2 miles. My lungs are burning. The backpack is heavy. I can hear them gaining on me. They're not fast, but they don't get tired. The ambulance. I yank the back door open, throw my backpack inside, climb in after it, slam the door shut. Lock it. The bar slides into place. Hands slap against the door, groaning outside. They've caught up. I scramble to the front, get into the driver's seat, start the engine. One of them is in front of the ambulance. I put it in drive and accelerate. The thump as the bumper hits it is sickening, but it goes down. I drive over it, can't afford to stop, and keep going. In the mirror, I can see the remaining infected stumbling after me, getting smaller and smaller until they're gone. My hand is bleeding from the glass cut. I pull over a mile down the road, hands shaking, and examine it. Deep enough to need stitches, probably, but I don't think I hit anything critical. I clean it with alcohol wipes, painful enough to make me gasp, and wrap it tight with gauze. The backpack is torn but intact. I didn't lose any of the medications. Worth it, I tell myself. Totally worth it. My hands don't stop shaking for an hour. Day 51. The cut on my hand is inflamed and hot to the touch. I take some of the antibiotics I just stole, hoping I'm not developing an infection. The irony of dying from a cut sustained while stealing medical supplies is not lost on me. I'm getting close to the coordinates now, maybe 50 miles out. The terrain is getting more mountainous, more forested, beautiful country, or it would be if it wasn't the end of the world. I start seeing signs of organization, roadblocks that look deliberate, cars positioned to block lanes, forcing traffic into specific patterns, spray-painted symbols on buildings that might mean something to someone. Once, in the distance, I see smoke from a campfire, but I don't investigate. Could be survivors, could be a trap. That afternoon, I find a river and risk stopping to refill my water containers. I use the water purification tablets I found in a camping store, dropping 1 into each gallon, waiting the required 30 minutes. While I wait, I wash my hand in the river, change the bandage, The inflammation is going down. The antibiotics are working. Small victories. I'm about to leave when I notice something downstream, a body, face down in the shallow water. I watch it for a full minute before I'm sure it's not moving, not infected, actually dead. I wade over to it, careful, crowbar ready. It's a woman, maybe 60. She's wearing a backpack. There's a bullet hole in the back of her head. Someone executed her. I check the backpack. It's empty. Whoever killed her took her supplies, left her body in the river. I feel sick. Not because of the body, I've seen bodies, but because this was a person, a survivor. Someone made it this far through everything, and someone else killed her for a backpack of supplies. Is this what we've become? Is this what survival means? I leave the body where it is. What else can I do? I don't have the tools to bury her, and I'm not wasting time on a grave when I need to keep moving. But I think about her all day. Wonder what her name was, where she was going, if she had family, if she was heading to Redoubt Station too. That night, I have nightmares for the first time in weeks. I wake up sweating in the back of the ambulance. Sure, I heard a gunshot, but it's quiet outside. Just wind in the trees. Day 52. I'm close now. According to my atlas and my best guess at the coordinates, Redoubt Station should be within 20 miles. The problem is, I'm not sure exactly where. I've been following the coordinates as best I can, but without GPS, it's guesswork. I spend the day driving slowly, scanning for anything that looks like a facility, a building, a compound. Any sign of human presence? Nothing. By evening, I'm starting to think I got the coordinates wrong, or the broadcast was fake, or the place was overrun weeks ago and everyone's dead. I park for the night in an abandoned gas station, feeling defeated. 52 days of survival, 300 miles of dangerous travel, and for what? To chase a radio signal that might have been my imagination? I'm eating a cold can of soup, vegetable beef that tastes like salty water, when I hear it. A sound in the distance, regular, mechanical, a generator. I kill my flashlight immediately. Move to the front of the ambulance, peer out into the darkness. There, maybe a mile away, up in the hills, a faint glow. Electric lights. Redoubt Station. It's real. I sit there in the darkness, staring at those distant lights, feeling a complicated mix of emotions. Relief that it exists, fear of what I'll find there, uncertainty about whether they'll even let me in. But it's there. After everything, it's actually there. I don't approach in the darkness. That's how you get shot. I wait for morning, spending the night watching those lights, making sure they stay on, proving to myself they're real. Day 53. Dawn comes cold and clear. I can see the facility better now. It's built into the hillside. Looks like it might have been some kind of resort or conference center before. There are walls now, not professional military walls, but effective ones made of shipping containers and chain-link fence topped with barbed wire. I can see guard towers, movement on the walls, people, living people, an organized community. I start the ambulance and drive slowly toward it. There's a road that leads up the hill. About halfway up, I hit a checkpoint, a gate across the road, sandbags, and 3 people with rifles pointed at me. I stop, put my hands up where they can see them, roll down the window. "I'm alive!" I shout. "Not infected. I heard your radio broadcast. I'm looking for Redoubt Station." One of the guards approaches carefully. He's young, maybe 25, wearing mismatched tactical gear and a respirator mask. His rifle never wavers from pointing at my chest. "Out of the vehicle," he says. "Slowly. Keep your hands visible." I comply. Step out of the ambulance, hands up, trying not to look threatening. "How many in your vehicle?" "Just me." "Open the back doors." I do. He looks inside, sees the medical supplies, the makeshift living space, my pile of belongings, sees that I'm alone. "You've been bitten?" "No." "You sure?" "I'm sure." He lowers the rifle slightly. We need to quarantine you for 24 hours. Make sure you're not infected. You okay with that? I nod. I'd agree to just about anything at this point. Follow me. Leave the ambulance here. We'll secure it. I grab my backpack with my essentials and follow him up the road. The gate opens. Behind it, I can see the facility properly. There are buildings, prefab structures that look recently constructed, solar panels, a water tower, gardens, maybe 50 people visible going about their business, an actual community. Surviving, building. I'm led to a small building, more like a shed, that's been set up as a quarantine area. There's a cot, a bucket, some bottles of water, a small window with bars. 24 hours, the guard says. Someone will check on you. If you're not showing symptoms, we'll talk about letting you in properly. If you are... He doesn't finish that sentence. The door closes. I hear a lock click. I'm alone again, but somehow it feels different. There are people just outside, a community, rules and structure and the possibility of safety. I lie down on the cot, and for the first time in 53 days, I sleep deeply. I wake to voices outside. It's dark. I must have slept for hours. Through the small window, I can see electric lights. Actual electric lights, not flashlights or candles. The generator I heard last night. Someone opens a slot in the door and passes through a tray. On it is a bowl of soup, actual hot soup, with vegetables and what might be chicken, and a piece of bread, real bread. Not crackers or stale rolls. I eat slowly, savoring every bite. It's the best meal I've had in nearly 2 months. After I eat, a woman's voice comes through the door. How are you feeling? Any fever, nausea, confusion? No, I feel fine, tired, but fine. Any injuries we should know about? I look at my hand. The cut is healing. Nothing serious. Cut on my hand from broken glass. I've been treating it. Okay, get some rest. We'll check on you in the morning. The slot closes. I lie back on the cot and stare at the ceiling. This place has electricity, hot food, medical care. It's real. It's actually real. I think about the journey here. The ambulance sitting somewhere outside these walls, my home for the past 53 days, all the close calls, all the scavenging, all the fear and loneliness. Was it worth it? I don't know yet. Ask me tomorrow. But for now, in this small, locked room with a full stomach and the sound of human voices outside, I let myself hope. Day 54. Morning comes with more voices outside. The lock clicks and the door opens. It's a different person this time, an older man, maybe 60, wearing actual medical scrubs. He's carrying a medical bag. Morning, he says. I'm Frank. I'm what passes for a doctor around here. Mind if I examine you? Go ahead. He checks my temperature, looks at my hand, asks me questions about my symptoms and my journey. I tell him everything, the apartment building, the ambulance, the 53 days on the road. He listens without interrupting. You're not infected, he finally says. You can join the community if you want. We have rules. Everyone contributes. Everyone works. We don't tolerate violence or theft. You have skills? I used to install security systems. I can do electrical work, some basic construction. I can scavenge. I can drive. That ambulance yours? Sort of. I found it. The medical supplies in it? Yeah, he nods. We could use those. We could use you too if you're willing to work. I am. Good. Let me show you around. Redoubt Station is bigger than I thought. The main facility is built into what used to be a corporate retreat center. Conference rooms converted to dormitories. The cafeteria is still functioning as a cafeteria. There are about 80 people here, Frank tells me. They started with 12, the first week after everything collapsed. A group of preppers who'd been planning for this, who had supplies and weapons and a defensible location. They've been taking in survivors slowly, carefully, screening everyone, building the walls, planting crops, scavenging from towns within a 50-mile radius. It's not paradise. People sleep in cramped conditions. Food is rationed. There are arguments about resources and leadership, but it's safe, or as safe as anywhere can be. Frank shows me the gardens, rows of vegetables growing in raised beds, the solar panels that power the lights, and the generator that backs them up. The water system, they're on a well that's still working. The armory, not huge, but enough weapons to defend the walls. We've had to fight off infected 3 times, Frank says, herds that wandered too close. And once, a group of raiders, people from another survivor camp that wanted our supplies. We held them off, but it was close. Where's that camp now? Gone. We think the infected got them. He shows me the dormitory where I'll be sleeping. Bunk beds in a converted conference room, maybe 20 beds total, half of them occupied. My stuff from the ambulance has been brought up, my backpack, my blanket, my few possessions. You'll start work tomorrow, Frank says. For now, rest. Get cleaned up. There's a shower in the bathroom down the hall, rationed to 5 minutes, but it's hot water. Hot water. I haven't had a hot shower in 53 days. I take my 5 minutes and stretch them to 6, standing under the spray, watching weeks of grime and sweat wash away. The water turns gray, then brown, then finally clear. I use the small bar of soap they provide, scrubbing until my skin is raw. When I'm done, I look at myself in the mirror. I've lost weight. My face is gaunt, cheekbones sharp, eyes sunken. There are scars I don't remember getting. My hair is too long. My beard is scraggly. But I'm alive. I made it. That night, I sleep in a real bed for the first time in nearly 2 months. There are other people in the room, snoring, shifting, breathing. The sounds keep me awake at first. I'm so used to silence, except for the sounds of the infected, but eventually I adjust. This is my life now, part of a community, contributing, building something that might last. The ambulance sits in the parking area outside the walls, empty now. They've taken the medical supplies for the community stockpile. The vehicle itself is being evaluated. Frank says they might convert it to a supply-run vehicle, use it to scavenge from farther out. I should feel some attachment to it. It saved my life, after all. But standing there looking at it the next morning, I just feel tired, ready to move on. Day 55. I start work. They assign me to a scavenging team with 2 other people, a woman named Tessa, who's maybe 40, and a younger guy named Dominic, who can't be more than 20. We take a pickup truck, reinforced with metal plating welded to the sides, and head out to a town 20 miles south. The mission is simple. Find food, medicine, tools, anything useful. Avoid infected. Come back alive. It's surreal doing this with other people. I've gotten so used to working alone, to making every decision myself, that having to coordinate feels strange. But it's also better. Safer. While I'm checking one aisle in a store, Tessa is checking another, and Dominic is watching the entrance. We work efficiently, communicate with hand signals, cover each other. We hit 3 locations, a hardware store, a pharmacy, and a grocery store, before we run into trouble. At the grocery store, we find a group of infected in the back storage area, maybe a dozen of them, clustered around what used to be someone hiding there. The noise of our scavenging attracts them. Tessa doesn't hesitate. Out, now! We run for the truck, the infected following. Dominic has trouble with the door. It's stuck, swollen in the frame. I can hear them getting closer. I drop my bag of supplies and help him yank it open. He tumbles in. Tessa's already in the driver's seat, engine running. I grab my bag and jump in the back as Tessa floors it. One of the infected grabs the tailgate, gets dragged for a few feet before losing its grip and tumbling away. We're silent on the drive back. That was too close. But we have supplies, canned goods, some medications, a box of tools. It's a successful run, even if it was scary. Back at Redoubt, we unload and catalog everything. There's a system. Everything goes into the community stockpile, and then it's distributed based on need. I don't get to keep the supplies I found, but I get credit for contributing. That credit translates to food rations, to better sleeping arrangements if they become available, to status in the community. It's a society. Miniature, fragile, but functioning. Over the next week, I fall into a routine. Scavenging runs every few days, guard duty on the walls, help with the gardens. Maintenance work on the buildings. It's exhausting, but it's purposeful. I'm contributing to something larger than just my own survival. I get to know people. Tessa tells me she was a teacher before, kindergarten. She talks about her students sometimes, wondering if any of them made it. Dominic was a gamer, spent most of his life online. He's having the hardest time adjusting to this physical, brutal world. Frank, the doctor, was actually a veterinarian before, but medical knowledge is medical knowledge. There's a woman named Iris who runs the gardens. She's maybe 50, with strong hands and dirt under her fingernails. She teaches me about planting and composting and seed saving. We're preparing for winter, she says, trying to preserve everything we can, because once the snow comes, scavenging will be nearly impossible. There are children here, 3 of them. That's the most surreal part. Watching kids play in the courtyard, under guard towers, surrounded by walls to keep out the infected. They don't seem traumatized. They're adapting. Children always adapt. I think about my own daughter. She'd be 9 now. Is she alive? Is Kelly? Did they make it to a place like this? I'll probably never know. Day 63. There's a community meeting. Everyone gathers in the cafeteria. The leadership, there are 5 of them, elected by the community, announces that they've been in radio contact with another survivor camp about 100 miles west. The camp has a generator that's failing and they need parts. Redoubt has the parts but needs food. They're proposing a trade. The problem? Getting there safely. The route goes through several towns that are heavily infected. It's a 2-day journey each way. They're asking for volunteers. I raise my hand before I can think about it. After everything I've survived, a supply run feels almost easy. Tessa volunteers. Dominic does too. We're joined by 2 others, a man named Leon, who was a mechanic before, and a woman named Harper, who used to be a cop. 5 of us, 2 vehicles. We leave tomorrow at dawn. That night I can't sleep. Keep thinking about the journey here, about all the close calls, about how easily it could have gone wrong, and now I'm choosing to go back out there, into danger. But I also think about that other survivor camp, about people trying to build something, about the possibility that maybe, just maybe, we can start rebuilding civilization, one trade at a time, one connection at a time. Day 64. We leave at first light. I'm driving the ambulance. They've reinforced it, added metal plating to the windows, installed a better battery. It's still the same vehicle I survived in for 53 days, but it's been transformed, weaponized almost. Leon drives the pickup truck. We're loaded with supplies, the generator parts, some tools, seeds from Iris's garden. Our trade goods. The first day is tense, but uneventful. We stick to back roads, avoid any towns that look too dangerous. Stop twice to siphon fuel. See infected in the distance, but never close enough to be a threat. We camp that night in a rest area, taking shifts on watch. Harper and I have the midnight shift. We sit on the roof of the pickup, rifles in our laps, watching the darkness. You ever think about before? Harper asks quietly. Sometimes. I was a good cop, really cared about it, wanted to help people. And now look at us. Scavenging and hiding and killing things that used to be people. We're still helping people, I say. Just differently. She's quiet for a moment. Yeah, I guess. A sound in the distance. We both tense. It's just an animal, a deer, crossing the road. We watch it disappear into the trees. I killed my partner, Harper says suddenly. After he turned, he got bitten trying to help some kid, and I had to. He asked me to, before he turned completely. He knew what was coming. I don't know what to say to that. I still see his face sometimes, she continues. When I close my eyes, he was my friend for 8 years, and I put a bullet in his head. I'm sorry. Yeah, me too. We don't talk much after that. Just watch the darkness and wait for dawn. Day 65. We reach the other camp in the afternoon. It's smaller than Redoubt, maybe 30 people, set up in what used to be a warehouse complex. Their walls are less sophisticated, but they have a working farm, acres of fields growing corn and wheat. The trade goes smoothly. They're as eager for the generator parts as we are for the food. We load up bushels of dried corn, bags of wheat, even some preserved vegetables. Enough to supplement Redoubt's supplies for weeks. Their leader, a woman named Patricia who must be 70 if she's a day, gives us information too. She's heard rumors of other survivor camps, one in Vermont, one in Pennsylvania, maybe a larger settlement being built in the ruins of Buffalo, protected by a group of former military. We're not alone, she says. There are pockets of us all over. We just need to connect. Build a network. It's the first time I've felt truly hopeful since this started. The idea that humanity isn't just surviving, but organizing, building, planning for a future. We stay for dinner, they insist, and after traveling all day, we don't argue. The meal is simple, just vegetable soup and bread, but it's communal, shared. We eat with strangers who are trying to build the same thing we are. Before we leave, Patricia pulls me aside. You're the one who drove that ambulance 300 miles? Word travels, apparently. Yeah, that took guts, or stupidity. Maybe both. Definitely both, she smiles. We need people like you. People who take risks, who don't give up. You ever want to leave Redoubt? You'd be welcome here. I'll keep that in mind. The journey back is harder. The vehicles are heavier with supplies, which means slower. We have to take a different route when we find a bridge washed out. That adds 6 hours. On the evening of the second day, we're 10 miles from Redoubt when we encounter them. A herd of infected, maybe 50 strong, moving across the road ahead of us. We stop. Wait. Hope they'll pass. They don't. They hear our engines. Start moving toward us. Go round, Leon says over the radio. But there is no round. We're on a narrow mountain road, forest on both sides, a cliff on one side dropping down to a ravine. We punch through, Harper says. Fast! Don't stop! I put the ambulance in gear. Leon does the same with the pickup. We accelerate. The infected are in front of us, a wall of bodies. I brace myself and hit them. The ambulance shudders with each impact. Bodies go under the wheels. Some are thrown to the side. One hits the windshield, already cracked from my first encounter in Riverside, and the whole thing spiderwebs, vision obscured. I can't see. I'm driving blind, using the edges of the road as guides, hoping I don't drive off the cliff. Behind me, I can hear the pickup, Leon laying on the horn, metal crunching. Hands grab at the ambulance, trying to hold on. I swerve, hear something fall away, and then we're through. I don't slow down. Neither does Leon. We drive for 5 miles before we feel safe enough to stop and check the damage. The ambulance is a mess. The front bumper is hanging off. The windshield is destroyed. There's blood and worse all over the hood and sides, but it's still running. The pickup is better off. The metal plating Leon installed took most of the damage. We're all shaking. Dominic is crying quietly in the back of the pickup. Tessa looks gray. Harper is checking her weapon, hands steady, but her jaw is tight. Everyone okay? Leon asks. We nod. No one's injured. No one was bitten. We drive the last 5 miles in silence. Redoubt Station's gates open when they see us coming. People cheer when they see the supplies we brought back. A successful mission, a completed trade, proof that cooperation between camps is possible. That night, there's a celebration. Nothing fancy. Some of the corn we brought back roasted over the fire. Some homemade alcohol that tastes like paint thinner but gets you drunk. Music from a guitar someone found and learned to play. I sit with my back against the wall, watching people dance and laugh and forget for a few hours that the world ended. I think about the journey I took to get here. The ambulance that's now being cleaned and repaired for the next mission. The 53 days alone on the road. I survived. More than that, I found something worth surviving for. Day 70. I've been at Redoubt Station for more than 2 weeks now. It's starting to feel like home, which is both comforting and terrifying. Getting comfortable is dangerous, makes you soft, makes you forget that this could all fall apart. But I let myself hope anyway. We're planning another trade mission, this one to the Vermont camp Patricia mentioned. Longer journey, riskier, but the potential payoff is big. They have medical supplies, actual prescription medications, surgical equipment, things we desperately need. I volunteer again. This time, they're sending 6 of us, 3 vehicles. We leave in 2 days. I spend the time preparing, checking the ambulance. It's been repaired as much as possible, though the windshield is still cracked. Gathering supplies, planning routes. The night before we leave, I'm on guard duty. Standing on the wall, looking out at the darkness, I see something that makes my blood run cold. Lights, in the distance, moving. Not infected. Infected don't carry lights. People. I alert the other guards. We watch. The lights get closer. We can see now it's vehicles. 3 of them, maybe 4. They're not trying to be subtle. The alarm goes up. Everyone to positions, weapons ready. The vehicles stop about 100 yards from our gate. Their headlights illuminate the walls. A voice calls out, amplified somehow. A megaphone maybe. Redoubt Station. We know you have supplies, food, medicine. We need them. We're willing to trade. Our leader, a man named Marcus, damn, there's that common name I was trying to avoid, but it's his actual name, shouts back, what are you offering? Safe passage. We control the roads south of here. You give us what we need, we let your people travel without trouble. It's extortion, protection racket bullshit. Marcus doesn't hesitate. No, leave now or we'll defend ourselves. There's laughter from the vehicles. You've got, 80 people? We've got more. We've got bigger guns. We will take what we need, one way or another. Last chance to do this peacefully. The vehicles start moving forward. Light them up, Marcus orders. Our shooters open fire, not at the people, but at the vehicles. Tires explode, windshields shatter, the vehicles swerve, stop. Doors open, people pour out. Taking cover behind the disabled vehicles, they return fire. Bullets hit the walls. The shipping containers ring with impacts. Someone screams. One of our people is hit. I'm firing too, trying to aim for the muzzle flashes, trying to keep their heads down. It's chaos, noise and light and fear. The fight lasts maybe 10 minutes. Then, as suddenly as it started, they retreat, pile back into whatever vehicles still run, drive away into the darkness. We've won. For now. But we've got wounded. 2 people hit, 1 seriously. Frank works on them through the night. The serious one, a woman named Teresa, doesn't make it. The bullet hit her lung, and we don't have the equipment to save her. We bury her the next morning. 80 people become 79. The trade mission to Vermont is postponed. We're on high alert now. Double guards. Reinforcing the walls. Planning for the next attack because we all know there will be one. This is the new reality. It's not just infected we have to worry about anymore. It's other survivors. People who've decided that taking is easier than building. I think about the woman in the river, shot in the head for her backpack. Think about how easy it would be to become the people attacking us instead of defending. But we don't. We hold our walls. We protect what we've built. We bury our dead and keep going. Because that's what survival means now. Not just staying alive, but staying human. Day 75. We've reinforced the walls, set up better defenses, started training everyone in basic combat. Even the kids are learning to shoot, which feels wrong but necessary. The raiders haven't come back yet, but we know they will. It's just a question of when. I'm leading a scavenging team now. Tessa, Dominic, and 2 newcomers who arrived last week, half-starved and desperate. We found them on a supply run, hiding in an abandoned barn. They're with us now, contributing, becoming part of the community. This is how we grow. Carefully, slowly. The Vermont mission finally happens on day 80. I volunteer again, but Marcus says no. You're too valuable here now, training people, leading teams. We need you at Redoubt. It's the first time someone's called me valuable in a long time. The team leaves without me. 5 people, 2 vehicles. They're back 4 days later with medical supplies and stories of another survivor camp they found by accident. The network is growing. Day 90. 3 months since I climbed into that ambulance in the CVS parking lot. 3 months of survival, scavenging, fear, and hope. The ambulance itself is barely recognizable now. It's been repaired, reinforced, repainted. It doesn't look like an ambulance anymore. It looks like a war machine, which, I guess, is what it needs to be. But I think about those first 53 days, just me and that vehicle and the road, the loneliness, the fear, the small victories of finding a can of soup or a bottle of water. I don't miss it exactly, but I understand it now. It was necessary. Every day of suffering, every close call, every moment of terror, it brought me here, to this place, to this community, to a future that might actually exist. Day 100. The Raiders come back. This time, they're ready for our defenses. This time, they bring more people, better weapons. This time, it's war. The fight lasts 3 hours. We hold the walls, but barely. We lose 4 people. They lose more. When it's over, when they retreat again, we're exhausted, wounded, running low on ammunition. Marcus calls a meeting. We can't keep doing this. Eventually, they'll overwhelm us. We need to either negotiate or relocate. The community is divided. Some want to fight to the last person. This is our home now. Some want to reach out to other camps, form an alliance. Some want to pack up and find somewhere more remote, more defensible. I stay quiet during the debate. I've only been here for a couple months. This isn't my decision to make. But when Marcus asks for opinions, I speak up. We've got something worth protecting here, a community, a future. But we can't protect it alone. We need to connect with the other camps, build a network. Share resources, share defense, make ourselves too big to attack. There's silence after I speak. Then Iris nods. He's right. Alone, we're vulnerable. Together, we might actually make it. The decision is made. We'll reach out to every survivor camp we know about. Propose an alliance, share information, resources, defense. It's ambitious. It might fail, but it's better than dying alone behind these walls. Day 110. The first alliance meeting happens. Representatives from 5 different camps gathering at a neutral location, an abandoned farm halfway between all our territories. I'm part of Redoubt's delegation. Me, Marcus, and Harper. We meet the others. Patricia from the warehouse camp. A man named Devin from Vermont. A woman named Lakshmi from a camp we didn't even know existed until last week. A younger guy named Felix from the Buffalo settlement. We're all suspicious at first, territorial. But as we talk, as we share information and stories, something shifts. We've all survived the same nightmare. We're all building toward the same goal. We need each other. By the end of the meeting, we've drafted an agreement, mutual defense, shared resources, trading networks, communication systems using radios and runners. It's the beginning of something. Not a government, not yet, but a coalition, a network of survivors choosing cooperation over conflict. We call it the Alliance. Simple, direct, day 120. Winter is coming. We can feel it in the air, see it in the changing leaves. Iris says we're as ready as we can be. Food stored, buildings winterized, firewood stacked. The Alliance is holding. We've had 2 more meetings. More camps are joining. There's talk of establishing a central location for larger gatherings, maybe even a capital of sorts. The infected are still out there. The raiders are still a threat. Winter will be hard, but we're not alone anymore. I think about that sometimes, about the journey from absolute isolation to community, about the ambulance that carried me 300 miles, about the moment I decided to risk everything for a radio broadcast that might have been nothing. Best decision I ever made, day 150. The first snow falls. It's beautiful and terrifying. Beautiful because it's clean and quiet. Terrifying because it makes scavenging nearly impossible, makes the infected easier to see but harder to fight in the cold. We hunker down, ration our supplies, keep the fires burning. Tell stories to pass the time. I tell them about my 53 days in the ambulance, about the gas stations and the close calls and the woman in the river, about deciding to head north toward coordinates. I wasn't even sure I'd heard correctly. People listen. Some of them have similar stories. We're all survivors in our own way. The ambulance sits in the garage now, winter-proofed, waiting for spring. It'll go out again on supply runs when the weather breaks. But for now, it rests. So do I. In the quiet moments, when I'm on guard duty looking out at the frozen landscape, I think about my daughter. Wonder if she's somewhere warm and safe. If Kelly kept her alive. If they found their own redoubt station. I'll probably never know. But I can hope. That's what we do now. We hope. We build. We survive. Day 200. 6 months since I stole that ambulance. Half a year of survival in a world that tried its hardest to kill me. Spring is coming. The snow is melting. We've made it through the winter with most of our people intact. Lost a few to illness, to accidents. But we're still here. The Alliance is planning a major scavenging operation. Hit the cities that we've been avoiding, the ones too dangerous to risk during the initial panic. By now, most of the infected will have dispersed or been drawn away. There will be supplies, mountains of them, in those abandoned buildings. It's risky, but necessary. We need resources to grow, to rebuild. I volunteered to lead one of the teams. We'll take the ambulance, reinforced and ready. Head back to the city where this all started for me. Back to my apartment building, to the streets I fled. Full circle. Part of me is terrified. Part of me is ready. I'm not the same person who climbed out that fire escape window 6 months ago. I'm stronger now, smarter. I know how to survive, and I'm not alone. We leave tomorrow at dawn. 10 vehicles, 40 people. The largest operation the Alliance has attempted. I clean my weapons, check my supplies, make sure the ambulance is ready. Tomorrow, we go back to the beginning, to the place where the world ended. But this time, we're not running away. We're taking it back, one block, one building, one day at a time. This is how civilization rebuilds. Not with grand gestures or heroic moments, but with people willing to risk everything for a future they might not live to see. I sleep well that night. No nightmares. Just the quiet anticipation of what comes next. Day 201. We leave at dawn, just as planned. The convoy moves slowly, carefully. 10 vehicles spread out, maintaining radio contact. The ambulance is in the middle of the pack, carrying medical supplies for the mission. I'm driving. Tess is in the passenger seat. Dominic and 2 others are in the back, ready to jump out when we reach our first target. The city appears on the horizon around noon. From a distance, it looks almost normal. Buildings still standing, streets still in grid patterns. But as we get closer, the truth becomes obvious. Windows broken, cars abandoned everywhere, vegetation growing wild in places it shouldn't be. A city dying slowly. We enter from the south, following the plan. Each vehicle has specific targets: grocery stores, pharmacies, hardware stores, warehouses. We'll hit them systematically, load up, and get out before dark. The streets are eerily quiet. We see infected, They're everywhere, wandering aimlessly, but in smaller numbers than I expected. Winter killed some of them, I think. Cold or starvation, or just the breakdown of whatever keeps them moving. We reach our first target, a sporting goods store. I park the ambulance in front and the team moves in. I stay with the vehicle, keeping watch, rifle ready. The team comes out 15 minutes later with camping gear, clothing, some freeze-dried food that somehow survived the initial looting. We load it up and move on. Second target, a pharmacy chain. This one's been hit before, but we're thorough. We find medications in the back storage area, boxes of supplies meant for restocking that never made it to the shelves. Third target, a restaurant supply warehouse. Jackpot. Industrial-sized cans of food, bulk spices, commercial kitchen equipment. We load as much as the ambulance can carry. By mid-afternoon, we're full. Time to head back. That's when the radio crackles. It's Marcus in one of the other vehicles. We've got a situation. Corner of 5th and Main. Large group of infected, and they've surrounded one of our trucks. We need backup. 5th and Main. That's 2 blocks from my old apartment. On our way, I respond. I drive fast, weaving between abandoned cars. The ambulance handles differently when it's loaded. Heavier, slower to respond. But I make it work. I see the situation as soon as I turn the corner. One of our pickup trucks is surrounded by infected, maybe 60 of them, pounding on the windows trying to get in. I can see faces inside, terrified. Marcus's vehicle is 50 yards away. The team inside taking pot shots at the infected, trying to thin the herd. It's not enough. We need to draw them away, Tessa says. She's right. I slam on the horn. The ambulance siren, which we haven't used since the early days, blares to life. The sound is deafening, echoing off the buildings. The infected turn toward us, all of them, 60 pairs of dead eyes fixing on the ambulance. Here they come, I say. I throw the ambulance in reverse, backing up fast. The infected follow, stumbling after us. Behind them, I can see the pickup truck. The people inside are opening the doors, running for Marcus's vehicle. They make it. The pickup is abandoned, but the people are safe. The infected are still coming toward us. I drive backward until we're out of their immediate range, then turn and accelerate forward. We lead them away from the convoy, away from the other vehicles. 3 blocks, 4, 5. The infected are following, drawn by the siren. Finally, I kill the siren. Turn down a side street. The infected keep going straight, following the last place they heard the sound. We've lost them. Tessa's grinning. That was insane. That was effective, I correct. We circle back to the convoy. Everyone's safe. We lost the pickup truck, but no people. That's what matters. We head home as the sun sets, our vehicles loaded with supplies. Behind us, the city fades into the distance. I think about my apartment building as we drive. I was so close. Could have gone there, seen what remained of my old life. But I didn't. Didn't need to. That life is over. This is what matters now. The convoy, the people, the future we're building. Day 210. The supplies from the city run are distributed among the Alliance camps. Everyone benefits. It's proof that the system works. There's talk of establishing a permanent presence in the city, a forward base where we can stage longer scavenging operations. It's ambitious, but maybe possible. I'm sitting in the cafeteria eating dinner, actual chicken from birds we're raising in the courtyard, when Harper sits down across from me. You ever think about writing it down? She asks. Writing what down? Your story, the ambulance, everything that happened, for the people who come after. I hadn't thought about it. Who would care? Future people, kids who grow up in this new world, they'll want to know how we survived, what it was like. I think about that, about my daughter, if she's alive somewhere. About the possibility that someday someone might want to know how humanity pulled itself back from the edge. Maybe, I say, someday. Day 300. I've been in this post-apocalyptic world for 10 months now, nearly a year since everything fell apart. The Alliance has grown to 15 camps, over 1,000 people working together, trading, defending, building. We've reclaimed 3 towns, cleared them of infected, established permanent outposts. The ambulance makes regular runs carrying supplies and people between settlements. I'm not driving it anymore. I've been promoted, if you can call it that, to logistics coordinator. I plan the supply runs, coordinate between camps, manage resources. It's less exciting than scavenging, but it's important. The world is still broken. Infected still wander the countryside. Raiders still threaten our settlements. Winter is coming again, and it'll be hard. But we're surviving. More than that, we're growing, planning, building infrastructure. Some camps have electricity now, running water, radio networks connecting all of us. It's not the old world. It'll never be the old world again. But it's something new, something we're creating from the ashes. I think about that ambulance sometimes, about the 53 days I spent alone on the road, wondering if I was the last person alive, about the fear and desperation and small moments of hope. It brought me here, to this community, to this life. I wouldn't change it, even if I could. Day 365, 1 year. 365 days since I climbed out my apartment window into a world gone mad. We mark the anniversary with a ceremony. All of the Alliance camps send representatives. We gather at the farm where we held our first meeting, and we remember. Remember the people we lost, the world that ended, the struggles to survive. But we also celebrate, because we're here. We made it. We built something. There's a monument now, built from stones we gathered. Simple. Just a cairn with a plaque that Frank made in his workshop. It reads, "They survived. We will too." I stand in front of it, thinking about everything. About Mrs. Patterson screaming in her apartment. About the CVS bathroom where I thought I'd die. About Vincent heading west toward a rumor. About Riley and her shotgun. About Teresa buried at Redoubt. About everyone who didn't make it. And about everyone who did, my daughter, wherever she is, Kelly, Diane. Everyone I knew before. I hope they found their own version of this, their own community, their own hope. The ambulance is here too, parked at the edge of the gathering. We've retired it from active duty. It's been through too much, and we have better vehicles now. But we keep it as a symbol, a reminder of where we came from. After the ceremony, I walk over to it, run my hand along the dented, scratched side. This vehicle saved my life, carried me through hell, brought me home. "Thank you," I say quietly. Someone laughs behind me. It's Tessa. "Talking to the truck now?" "Why not? It listens better than most people." She joins me, looking at the ambulance. "You know, when I first saw you drive into Redoubt in this thing, I thought you were crazy. Who steals an ambulance during the apocalypse? Someone who wants to survive." Well, it worked. We stand there in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the gathering. People are mingling, sharing food, telling stories, building connections. This is the future. Not perfect, not safe, but alive. Day 400. The Alliance establishes its first school. Just a small building in one of the reclaimed towns, but it's a start. The kids need education, need to learn not just survival, but math and reading and history. Someone has to teach them about the world before, about what we lost and why, so they can build something better. I volunteer to help, not as a teacher, I'm not qualified, but as someone who can tell stories about the early days, about survival, about how we built the Alliance. The kids listen with wide eyes. They've grown up in this world. It's all they know. The old world is just stories to them. But they need to know, need to understand. Day 500. We receive a radio transmission from California. There are survivors on the West Coast, organized communities. They're doing what we're doing, building alliances, reclaiming territory, planning for the future. The country might not be dead after all, just fragmented, scattered, but alive. We establish regular radio contact, share information about infected movements, weather patterns, scavenging tips. It's the beginning of a continental network. At day 700. 2 years since the outbreak, though, I count my time from when I got the ambulance. The alliance now spans 8 states, tens of thousands of people. We've cleared dozens of towns, established safe zones, even started farming operations. The infected are still a threat, but less than before. Their numbers have dwindled. Time and environment have done what we couldn't, reduced them to manageable levels. There are still raiders, still violence, still death. But there's also growth, hope, future. I'm married now. Harper and I, we found something in the shared trauma. It's not romance like in the movies. It's partnership, survival, choosing to face the future together rather than alone. We're talking about having a kid, bringing a new life into this broken world. It seems crazy, but also necessary. Life goes on even in the apocalypse. Day 1000. The ambulance is in a museum now. We established it in Redoubt, a place to remember the early days. Artifacts from the outbreak, stories from survivors, exhibits about how the alliance formed. The ambulance is the centerpiece, restored but showing its scars. A plaque beside it tells its story. This vehicle saved one life, which saved many more. A symbol of survival and hope. I visit it sometimes. Harper comes with me. We tell our future child, she's pregnant now, 3 months along, about how it all started. Your father stole this ambulance, Harper says, resting her hand on her belly. Drove it 300 miles alone. Survived when he shouldn't have. Found Redoubt. Helped build the alliance. That's a bit dramatic, I say. It's true. I look at the ambulance, at the medical cabinets that kept me alive, at the gurney where I slept for nearly 2 months, at the reinforced doors that protected me. Yeah, I admit. I guess it is. Our daughter is born on day 1115. We name her Hope because we're not very subtle, but we don't care. She's healthy. Perfect. A new life in a new world. The alliance continues to grow. We've made contact with survivors in Europe, in Asia. The world is rebuilding, slowly, in pockets. It'll take generations to restore what was lost. Maybe it'll never be fully restored. But we're trying. Building, surviving. And it all started with an ambulance. I write this now, years later, at Harper's urging. A record of those early days. Of the 53 days alone on the road. Of finding Redoubt. Of building the alliance. For Hope, when she's old enough to understand. For her children. For everyone who comes after. This is how we survived. This is how we built something from nothing. This is how we refused to give up, even when the world ended. One ambulance, one person, one decision to keep driving toward tomorrow.